Hey guys, it's Kathy. I hope you're doing well. I mean, you won't be after you're done with this custody case, but I hope you're doing well right now. We're going back down to Georgia, and the mom does not have a lawyer. The dad does have a lawyer. It's a complicated custody case with special needs children, and you know how this judge is. We've seen a few videos with him. So he keeps everybody in line and he keeps it moving. He keeps the lawyer moving. The lawyers just drag everything out. My gosh. Hi security. Hi CRD. Hi Shannon. Actually, real quick, before we get started, I have to say thank you. I'm going there right now. Do 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 do. Notifications.
You two speak English?
I'm looking. Gloria. Gloria Shedler and Marie Judd, thank you so much for your donation on my Patreon. I really, really, really appreciate it. Hi, Debbie. All right, guys, let's jump right in. Let's just jump right into this.
All right, Ms. Gibbs, do you have an attorney?
I don't.
So you're going to be representing yourself today, is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, do y'all want this reported?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Gibbs, do you want to participate in paying the court reporter to be here today and record this information? The importance of that is they want it reported. It's how much an hour? $43 an hour? It's essentially $43 an hour for her to be here to take it all down. If you participate in paying your half, then the transcript would be available to you to use if you decided you wanted to appeal this case to a higher court, or you wanted just for your own records to have a copy of it. If you do not participate, then they will own the transcript, and if you decided to appeal, you could not avail yourself of a transcript.
Sure.
Do you want to participate in the paying for it or not?
I do.
Okay, she'll participate under the rule.
Yeah, we do today. It's today.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Hopefully it won't be that much. We'll get done rather quickly. We'll find out in just a few minutes.
And the transcript, just to clarify, to get the transcript, there would be additional.
Oh, yeah. The $43 is only the takedown. That's only for her to stay here and take it down. If you decide later you want a transcript, you pay for that by the page.
Sure.
All right, Ms. Shirley, now you're the moving party. Tell me what this is about.
Your Honor, this is a modification of custody. Mr. Wilt came before the court and got an ex parte order after an incident involving Miss Gibbs and the party's child, Mason. They actually have two children that they had split custody of, Mason and Colt. There have been issues for quite some time, but the straw that broke the camel's back was that on March 28th, which happened to be Mason's 11th birthday and was also the day that school recessed for spring break, it was the beginning of Miss Gibbs' time with the child. Within a couple hours of school being let out, she was messaging Mr. Wilt on Our Family Wizard saying that the child had broken her hand. She was done. She was I am about ready to sign my rights over to you. I can't do this. And before Mr. Wilt could respond, Miss Gibbs and her husband pulled up at the end of the driveway and dumped this child out, crying, begging, saying, "I'm sorry," and left. And he sought this order. You will hear a pattern of Ms. Gibbs repeatedly claiming that she cannot manage this child. Both boys are autistic. Both have special needs and require special ways of discipline. They require structure. What you will hear is the complaints that Ms. Gibbs makes specifically about Mason's behavior is that none of those behaviors occur at the home with Mr. Wilt and his wife, Ms. Maddox. I would encourage the court to read Ms. Maddox's affidavit because it is very informative. It gives an incredible breakdown of the timeline of things. Mr. Wilt just wants some assurance that these boys are safe when they are with Ms. Gibbs. This is not going to be a situation that when these children turn 18 or 19, that they will leave the nest and these two parents no longer have to work together or parent. Most likely, both of these boys are going to need care for the rest of their lives. Some help. One may be able to live somewhat independently, but one definitely probably not. So Ms. Gibbs has got to learn how to parent these children and not rely on Mr. Wilt all the time for discipline. And if you recall, we had a contempt hearing, I believe it was back towards the end of 2022. And the issue then was Ms. Gibbs constantly messaging Mr. Wilt, wanting him to discipline the children on her time. And the court told her then, you've got to learn how to handle your children. And it's to the point now that, she's alleging this child broke her finger. We don't see any evidence of that in here today. That was on March 28th. If an 11-year-old's breaking her finger, then something's going on in that house. And it needs to be addressed. And what Mr. Wilt wants here, he wants Miss Gibbs to just be a better parent. He wants her to learn and to try to engage with these children in the way that they need to be dealt with. So that's what we're here to ask the court for today. We're going to ask the court to continue supervised visitation while Ms. Gibbs takes some parenting classes and undergoes some evaluations.
Well, standard parenting classes aren't going to resolve that problem. She needs some specialized, she may need some specialized parenting training for autistic children because they're totally different from what I understand as far as how you have to deal with them. All right, Ms. Gibbs, what is your response to that here today? Now, this is a temporary hearing. You can agree on a temporary basis for the children to both stay with him, you to have continued supervised visitation on a temporary basis while you, number one, perhaps get a lawyer if you want to have a lawyer, and number two, seek whatever training you might agree with or not that you need.
I've already completed some of that since the emergency ex parte was signed by you. I've already completed 2 classes for autistic parenting. One being on routine. It was called Maintaining Structure and Routine. The other one was supporting our child's communication at home. This was done through Emory University. I reached out to them and they did these classes with me via Zoom. So I completed those. I have scheduled one-on-one behavioral counseling with Mr. Thaddeus Holloway with Road to Success. Mason and I are to have our first visit together at 6 o'clock this afternoon in Mount Vernon at Mr. Holloway's office. So I have that, a letter from them as well stating that we will have that session today. I went to Pineland Mental Health and had a mental and psychological evaluation done. I have a letter from the doctor here stating that he does not find any danger in me having custody of my children at this time, and that I'm very willing to do anything that they suggest that I do going forward that will help with my parenting of Mason. I have that letter from that doctor at Pineland. I also have a letter from my PCP doctor where I went and saw her on the incident that happened on March the 28th on Mason's birthday. Mason did attack me. He punched me, hit me, used the word, "fuck you, mama, you're a bitch. Mama, I'm gonna take you to court and sue you." Were some of the things that he said to me. He ran into the road, which was extremely dangerous. And yes, I did have a meltdown myself, and I did take him back to his dad. But if you'll notice in this letter from my doctor, she does state that back in February, I came off of my I was on mental health medication. I was taking Zoloft and Ativan. I took myself off that medication back then. I was trying to, I have PTSD and anxiety disorder. And I was trying to wean myself off this medication because I don't like being on medication. I was off my medication during the time of this incident, and she believes that the reason I couldn't handle it then was because of me being off the medication. In the note, you'll also see where she says that she resumed my medication on March the 29th because I called her and I explained to her what happened. I told her that I felt like I needed to be back on the medication, and she instantly sent in the medication for me to be back on the medication. And so I am back on those medications now. I believe that this has a lot to do with more than just, if you do read Miss Maddox's affidavit that she wrote, you'll notice in there that she says that I do this, that I have a routine of doing this when they go on trips or out of town or, whatever. That is not true. I do not care when they go on vacation or they go out of town. I don't have them on my social media. I had no idea they were going on a trip on the day of Mason's birthday. I had been at the school with him having a birthday party that day. I had taken cupcakes and drinks and balloons to the school and spent the whole afternoon with him at school. Mr. Wilt or Miss Maddox, neither one were present in the classroom that day for his birthday party. I supplied and did that all myself. And that afternoon after it happened, I printed off a screenshot that was sent to me where Miss Maddox posted on her Facebook that if I knew I wouldn't catch a charge, I'd whip some arse right now. Suffice it to say, there are some sorry people on this planet. So she was calling me sorry and threatening to whip my tail.
It's never good when the arse comes out.
On Facebook where people could see it. And it was sent to me by multiple people. I didn't see it personally myself because then I don't have them on social media, but it was sent to me. I believe this has more to do with her anger towards me than anything else. I don't feel like there's any reason why I should have to have supervised visitation with my boys. I can understand them asking for that with Mason because of the outbreaks and because that almost every single time I have him, he does beat on me, he does cuss me out. I should have put some of this stuff in place a long time ago, but I was in the process of starting a career. I'm a full-time college student right now, and I honestly just put it to the side and have dealt with it and bottled it up for a long time. So with Mason, I understand why they would ask for supervised visitation. I understand that. But Colt is my biological son. He has been with me since he was born. They have never had custody of him, and biologically he is not Greg's son. So I am his only living biological parent. And I don't think that that's fair to take him away from me whenever he has been with me his whole entire life. And
so Mason is not your biological son?
No, Mason is my biological son as well, but Greg is not Colt's biological father. I was 4 weeks pregnant.
Did he adopt him?
We were married and he signed his birth certificate.
Okay, so he's a legal father.
Yes, he's legal, yes.
Your Honor, if you look at the petition, we threw in an equitable caregiver in there just
Yeah.
to cover that.
Well,
And I'm
no,
not
if he
saying
was-
he's not.
If the law said that he was married to her at the time of the marriage and he signed a birth certificate and acknowledged the child to be his, it's his child. By law. Unless they changed that one too. They change them on me sometimes. But anyway, go ahead.
That's okay. In 2002, with Dr. Zena over in Statesboro, I completed parenting classes with her as well. I have a note here from her where she is just stating that I did complete those parenting classes
Where
with
is
her
Colt?
office.
Where is Colt now?
Where is Colt?
Colt. Is Colt with you or with him?
He took him, he added him as a part of that emergency ex parte,
Okay, all right.
which I didn't understand why there was an emergency with him. And from what I understand, they went on a trip and they didn't do this emergency ex parte until after the trip. So Mason and Colt were, he didn't take Colt until after they got back from their trip. So I feel like if it was an emergency, that they probably should have took him before they went on their trip, or maybe, took the boys with them, or, something like that, if it was such an emergency to go and take him while I was at work, and me to get off work and not know that they came and took my son from my grandmother's house. I've seen my boys now 3 times in the past months at CASA for 1-hour visits, and they leave every time crying to go with their mama. And that is killing me. I'm not going to. I have also here appointments that I have set up through Pineland for myself to have counseling. I have an appointment on May the 17th, and I have an appointment on May 31st to have individual counseling. This is for me. They have also offered to bring Mason into that counseling as well. They have someone on staff there now who works specifically with autism. And the reason that I do not have an attorney represent me today, because I was speaking with an attorney and was going to have that representation, is because I have copies here of the text messages between Greg and my grandmother, who is, she went to the bathroom, I guess. But I have text messages with him and her where he told her that he knew I loved the boys, and that there was 3 things that he wanted. He wanted me to have a psychological evaluation. He wanted me to have parenting classes for autism, which I have went and researched and done. He wants me to have a behavioral therapist for Mason while in my care to help me deal with him, which I have asked Mr. Holloway, Thaddeus Holloway, about that, and he has said that he would be available anytime to help me. He said that he would be more than willing to cover half the cost of this. And then he says that there is no doubt that I love my boys.
We're testifying, we don't.
Yeah, I agree.
Opening, so.
All right, okay. I understand your position. All right, you may proceed.
All right, Your Honor, I call Ms. Gibbs to the stand for the purposes of cross-examination.
Come on up, Ms. Gibbs.
If you'll raise your right hand, do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right. Where do you live currently?
I live at 195 West Stewart Avenue in Lyons.
Okay. And how long have you lived at that address?
For right at 2 months, a month and a half,
All right. Where did you live prior to that?
with my husband at 430
Who is your husband?
Anthony Gibbs.
And is that him making all the noise in the gallery back
I don't
there?
hear him making noise, but that's my husband. Yes, ma'am.
Rude.
Now, where does he live?
At his house at 439.
Okay. So are y'all getting a divorce?
We are not. We are currently separated. We're going through premarital counseling. We're seeing a counselor together, and we're living separately currently.
Okay. How big is this house on Stewart Street?
It is a 2-bedroom, but it's plenty big enough for us.
All right. Who's living there?
Me and my daughter Haley right now.
All right. So if the boys come back to you unsupervised, where are they going to stay?
There's plenty of room for them to sleep at my house. There's plenty of room to put beds. There's plenty of room to put bunk beds. Plenty of room.
How old's your daughter?
She's 15.
And where are these boys going to sleep? Are they going to share a room with her?
No, they would share a room with me. My room is massive. And if I had to move because of, for whatever reason I could, this was a very short decision that I made because of me moving.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as plaintiff's exhibit 1. Can you identify that?
I can.
What is that?
It's where I said on Facebook that Anthony and I were getting a divorce.
Okay.
But we have since decided that that's not the case, and we're not. We're working through our problems.
And that was when, back in March?
I'm not sure.
Okay, you don't remember when you and your husband separated?
I do. It was in March.
All right. Your Honor, we've moved to tender plaintiff's 1.
Any objection to it being admitted?
No.
It's admitted.
I'm going to show you plaintiff's exhibit 2. What is that?
This is a Facebook post I made on apparently March the 18th where I said that we have found a house. And I publicly apologized to Anthony for some things that I had said about him. I found out some things that he had done before we got married that were not told to me. And I got very upset about it.
Okay.
Which this is also during the time when I was off my medication, just for the record of the court.
We would move to tender plaintiff's 2.
Any objection?
No.
It's admitted.
All right, and then I'm going to show you plaintiff's 3. What is that?
It's a post I made that has nothing to do with this court case or with Mr. Gibbs at all.
It says you make terrible decisions, doesn't it?
No, it says I make the dumbest decisions.
All right, and that's from March 15th of this year, correct?
Also, when I was off my medication.
Okay. Is that a post you made?
It is.
Has it been changed or altered in any way?
No,
Your Honor, we move to tender plaintiff's 3.
Any objection?
no.
It's admitted.
So you've talked a lot about going off your meds. You said that was in February, correct?
It was.
And you blame this whole situation on you going off your meds. Is that?
I never said that. I never said that it was solely because of that. I literally sat right there 5 seconds ago and said that I understand that I could have done things better, that I could have put some things in place before being asked for them to put in place. The reason that I have not, the main reason, is because Mr. Wilt has, in our last court order, asked to be to have, even though we had joint custody, that he would have all the medical decisions for Mason, that he
I don't know how many times she said I was off my medications, Fozzie, but I'm taking a shot every time she does.
would be the one making the medical decisions. I would for Colt, he would for Mason. So when I sent him messages about Mason's discipline and about the things that Mason was doing at my house that he says he doesn't do at his house, whenever I would say something to him about that, it was because I was wanting him to go before Mason's doctors and find out why.
Okay, well, let's back up. He has encouraged you to follow the same kind of discipline that he does, correct?
I'm not going to beat my children with a board this big and this thick like he does.
Okay.
I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sign them out of school when they have a problem at school and take them down the street and beat them with a board. I work at DFACS and I see cases at DFACS for far less than what he does to Mason.
Let's go back. Were you on your medication in October?
I was.
Okay. Do you recall October 5th of 2023?
Not necessarily, no.
Do you recall messaging Greg, and y'all use our family wizard?
We do.
Correct? As part of court order, correct? Do you remember writing to him, hey, I hate to write you something like this at 11 o'clock at night, but I am done. Mason has about killed me since he was here. He is very violent with me and everyone in my home. And please don't say it's because of the other kids I have living here. They are not here anymore. At this point, I will sign my rights to him over to you if you will just let me have supervised visitation or something. Do you recall sending him
I do.
message on our family wizard? Right, I'm going to show you plaintiff's exhibit 4. That's a printout from our family wizard from October of 2023, correct?
It is.
And so here, you're begging him to come take Mason, and you'll sign over your rights, just give you supervised visitation.
I was extremely frustrated. If you were getting beat on and hit and bit and cussed out like we were, you would understand.
All right. Do you think it's normal for your child to act like that at your house, but not act like that at Mr. Wilkes?
When I spoke with the mental health doctor yesterday, I asked him that same question. And because I'm not trained in that, obviously, I asked him about that. And he said that he would have to do an evaluation, but his opinion was that Mason is getting angry at their house, but he can't release that anger because he knows that he's going to get beat every time he does that. So he comes to my house where he knows that that's not going to happen and releases his anger on me.
And has that person actually talked to Mason or examined Mason?
He has not, but he's read every message because you yourself wrote a consent order to me, and you asked me if I went and had an evaluation done, that I submit every message between Greg and I from our family wizard, which I did, and he read it, 380-something pages of it.
But again, he's not.
And he made his opinion off of that.
Okay.
But he will gladly speak to Mason.
All right.
Could you imagine having to send your messages to your significant other or your ex to a therapist for them to read? Oh my God. They would lock me up.
Do you agree?
Georgia. This
that
is
it
Georgia.
shows a lack of coping and parenting skills to write in an app message that you want to surrender your rights to your child?
I do.
Okay, and you've done that twice now in 5 months, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. That's not normal behavior, is it, Ms. Gibbs?
I believe it is when you're frustrated to the level that I am. My doctor and the psychologist that I spoke with yesterday said that they could understand that they could understand why I would feel that way getting beat on by an 11-year-old.
So, back in October, you and Anthony were together in the marital residence, correct?
We were.
And you make reference to these other kids in the house. You brought kids that didn't have any connection to you or your family to live with you, did you not?
I did not. You are incorrect. Those children were Kelsey Joyner and Jeremiah Joyner. Their mother is Kim Joyner.
Okay.
That we took them to a birthday party. Anthony and I went to her house to cut her grass for her because she was having some drug problems. And I'm not finished. And whenever we went to cut the grass at that house that day, she let them go to a birthday party with us. When we went to take those two children home that day, the mother was gone. She was on the run, and she was with a man named Sean Harper. And when we went to take them home, there was nobody there. So I took them to my house. I fed them, took care of them. I called the sheriff's department. I called DFACS. They all were aware that the children were there. Sean Harper ended up coming before, I believe, Judge Reeves, if I'm not mistaken, and ended up going to prison. And she was getting her life together. I asked DFACS. I asked the sheriff's department, what am I supposed to do with these children? They asked me was I willing to let them stay with us. So yes, at that time I said, absolutely, I'm not going to put these children on the streets.
But so the answer to my question was yes, you brought in additional children.
I did not bring them in. They were left with us. These children were left by their mother.
But you could have, through defects, they could have gone into foster care.
But they had already been in foster care, and I felt very sorry for these children. They did not deserve to have to go back into that because their mother was on drugs.
Kind of weak tender plaintiffs for.
Any objection?
No, sir.
Submitted.
Okay. Colt and Mason need structure, do they not?
They do.
They need familiarity, do they not?
They do.
Do you think that bringing other children into your home was wise considering the needs of your own children?
Well, the day that you're actually talking about with the exhibit that you just gave to Judge Reeves, the children were not at my home. They stayed with somebody else that weekend because I knew that I was going to have Mason, and I knew that Mason wouldn't do good with additional people in the home, and they were not at my home that day. So you can't blame that on his behavior on two other children and when they were not even there.
Okay. So you claim that he behaves that way towards you because of Mr. Wilt.
I'm saying that's what the doctor said yesterday.
All right. You constantly ask Mr. Wilt how to handle him, don't you?
I do. Because he says he doesn't have that problem at his house. So if he doesn't have the problem at his house, I would love to know why he has the problem at my house and not at his, other than the board that he's beating him with.
Your husband has spanked the children, has he not?
He has, absolutely.
And isn't it true that the day of the big blow up on Mason's birthday, you were attempting to spank Mason when you supposedly broke your hand, correct?
Yes, with my hand, not with a board.
Okay. All right. So you were swinging hard enough that missing Mason caused you to fracture something in your hand?
My hand was not fractured. I had my hand, I actually didn't go get it seen about. It swelled up. It was extremely bruised. I have pictures of it, but I never did go and get it x-rayed. And it has healed, so I'm assuming it probably was not broken.
But in the message on Our Family Wizard, which I'm referring to plaintiff's 5, and I'll tell it in just a second, you said you can come get him. I'm not keeping him from our weekend or spring break. He just broke my finger and is steadily cussing me out. Did you not?
Yep, that was within about 3 minutes of him beating the crap out of me. Yes.
That's, you recognize plaintiff's 5.
Yeah,
Is that a printout from y'all's Our Family
it is.
Wizard? All right, Your Honor, we tender plaintiff's 5. Your Honor, we tender
I'm
plaintiff's 5.
sorry. Did it?
And in this one again, you said, I'm about ready to sign my rights over to you. I can't.
That was the second time that you were just speaking about. Yes, ma'am.
He came to you from school that day, didn't he?
He did. I picked him up from school. I actually stayed with him at school for hours that day for his birthday.
He hadn't been,
And he was in the office when I got there because he was having behavioral problems at school that day. And he was in the principal's office when I got there. They almost didn't let him go down with me to have the birthday party that day because he was already in the principal's office for showing out at school. He was already showing out at school when I got there. I had to talk him down and calm him down to go down to the classroom to have the birthday party with him.
let's talk about Colt. Where does Colt spend most of his time?
He spends a lot of his time with his grandmother. I know that's where you're going with that.
That's his great-grandmother, correct?
It is.
Miss Warnick. She's 80 years old, correct?
She is.
All right. Why does Colt spend so much time with her?
He has been with her since he has been on and off with her since he has been born. She was at the hospital when he had his brain surgery. He's always been extremely close, and she is his favorite person in the whole entire world. He is her favorite person in the whole entire world, and they love spending time together. I don't ask her to keep Colt. She is very willing to keep him. She picks him up from school on my weekend on Fridays without even asking me if she can have that time with him. She just picks him up, and I go and visit him there a lot of times. But during the week, he stays with me.
But the weekends, your weekends, he's with her, correct?
Not every weekend, but a lot of weekends.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And do you pick him up every Sunday?
I do.
Does he miss school on Mondays occasionally?
There's times when he's missed school on Monday, but it was probably because of his anxiety.
All right. How many times has Colt missed school this year?
I'm not sure. I know talking to Miss Dowell, his teacher, she says that he is perfectly fine within the perimeters of him missing school. I have every text message between his teacher and I sitting right there on the desk.
So would you be shocked to hear that Colton Daniel Wilt has missed, in first period, he has 28 excused absences and 11 unexcused absences.
I believe that's incorrect.
It's going to show you what's been marked as plaintiff's exhibit 6. These are records from Toombs County School System.
And for the record of the court, his teacher also wrote an affidavit to the court where she lied multiple times. The school board is aware of it, and she is under,
Ma'am, you'll have a few moments to talk to.
well, she is under disciplinary action with the school right now for writing that affidavit. And I do believe that this is incorrect. I don't even have to look at it because he hasn't been out 28 days. If he did, I would have been reprimanded. I would have had a letter. I would have had a call. I haven't had none of that.
So the certified school records are incorrect.
I believe it is.
Your Honor, we tender plaintiff's exhibit 6. This is a certified school record.
Submitted.
She's right if they missed that many days that she would get a letter, blah, blah, blah. But it's not always instant. Sometimes it takes a while for the school to catch up with it. They're supposed to get it out right away, but they don't always. So I don't know. I don't know about that.
You have difficulties with Colt as well as Mason, don't you?
I don't.
Okay. Does he not fight you on what clothing to wear?
Sometimes he does, but I think he does that with everybody.
Okay. You let him wear pajamas all the time, don't you?
I do not. That is a lie. He went to school in pajamas one time, and I had a conversation with his teacher about that, which is in the text messages that I have. And she said it was perfectly fine for him to wear his pajamas that morning to school because he was having a rough morning, and that she would be glad to change him at some point during the day.
Okay. Do you make him wear underwear?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. He doesn't like underwear.
All right. How old is he?
Colt is 12.
Okay. I'm going to show you plaintiff 7. Is that a Facebook post of yours?
It is.
And you're talking about how he likes to wear pajamas 24/7?
I said that he would wear pajamas 24/7 if you let him. I do not let him. He has pajamas on in this picture, but that is not because he wears pajamas every day.
Is this a fair and accurate portrayal of your Facebook post?
It's my Facebook post. It is.
Your Honor, we tender plaintiff's exhibit 7.
Any objection?
No, sir.
All right.
Don't you agree that it's important for a 12-year-old boy in middle school to wear underwear every day?
I do. A normal child, yes. An autistic child that has problems with that, sometimes I let it slide. Until me and Greg had a conversation about it, and he told me his reasoning why he felt like Colt should always wear underwear. Colt gets, in my opinion, he gets pee all over him, and it makes him stink because when he goes to the bathroom, he tries to hurry up and he gets pee everywhere. And we had a conversation about that. He said that Colt was getting to the age where he would get erections. I had not thought about that, to be honest. And that he thought it was a good idea for him to wear underwear. And since he said that, it made sense with me. And I have not left him without underwear since then.
How often do you have, when it's your weekend with Mason, how often are he and Colt together?
Not a lot, honestly, because Greg has told me many times that I need to find time when I can have one-on-one time with Mason. And I have been trying to make time to have the one-on-one time with Mason. But we will go to my grandmother's if Colt is there, and we visit with them, spend time with them, go to the farm together and do things together. So it's not like they're not seeing each other on my weekend.
Okay. But you ship Colt, you take
I don't
Colt to-
ship my children anywhere.
You take Colt to your grandma's in Soperton, and then because you can't deal with
And I don't
him,
take him there. She picks him up from school on Fridays. That's her choice. She chooses to do that.
it's because you can't manage Mason
That is
and
not
Colt
true.
together, correct?
That is not true at all.
Okay, then why aren't they together either at her house or at your house?
Because she values that time with him. And she goes and picks him up. She doesn't even ask me.
So it's not important to her to see Mason, is that what you're saying?
Her and Colt have a bond. I don't get to see Mason as much. So that time when Mason comes to me is mine and Mason time.
Do you think that could be part of the issue with Mason? That he feels like favoritism is being shown towards Colt?
I'm not sure. I don't think so.
Okay. Has that ever occurred to you?
No, I don't think so. My grandparents love Mason. They just cannot handle his outbreaks. They can't handle him because he'll do that at their house too. And they cannot handle him beating on them and cussing at them.
At the CASA visitation, did you tell one of the children that it was up to their daddy if they got to go to your house again or not?
No, I did not. Mason asked me if he could come to my house on Saturday, and I said, you have to ask your daddy.
Okay.
Because right now the ball is in his court because of the...
It's not in his court, is it?
It is if the court signed an ex parte that says that I have visitation, and it absolutely is in Greg's court.
It's actually the decision of this judge right here, isn't it?
Yes.
And you have planted in your child's head that his daddy's not letting him see you.
That's not true. I have never said that.
You said it's up to your daddy, and that what just came out of your own mouth, Miss Gibbs.
I feel that's the only way. What am I going to do? Stand there and say they took you from me? I don't have a choice in it. I mean, what would you prefer that I say?
You can't defer or deflect or say we'll talk about that later.
I did do that many, many times. I'm sure it says that in some of the other CASA reports that you have. I haven't seen the CASA reports, so I wouldn't know what was put into it.
Your Honor, this is plaintiff's exhibit 8. It's
All
a
right.
certified record.
Could I read that, please, before you give it to him? Thank you.
Kelly, you are so right. Kelly says this lawyer is trying to place some really bad ideas into the judge's mind with her suggestive questions. If I was a lawyer, I would be objecting every 5 seconds. Not just her questions and her comments. She makes these comments. You're not supposed to make comments. And this lawyer, it's exactly what she's doing, but that's what happens when you're pro se. Get a lawyer, people. Tomorrow I'm going to show you a clip of get a lawyer even if you're a lawyer. Tomorrow I have a lawyer representing themselves. And it's just it's a train wreck.
It says right here in the very first paragraph that we all moved into a larger visitation area. The first thing that Mason asked was, when can we go to your house? Miss Gibbs answered with, we'll see.
All right, is that not, that is a TLC CASA report, correct?
And he asked several times during this visit, and I let them know that they were very loved, but her answer remained the same as we'll see. It says it right here in the first paragraph.
Your Honor,
Her question to you right now is that a CASA report?
It is.
and I'd like to tender it as Exhibit 8. I have a copy to provide to her.
Any objection?
No, sir.
Submitted.
So you and Mr. Gibbs are going through counseling.
We are.
All right. Is he over at your house?
He sometimes comes to my house.
Right. Do you go to his house?
I do sometimes.
Is your plan to move back into the marital residence?
It is.
Okay. If you're given unsupervised visitation today, where are you going to take the boys?
I can go to Anthony's house, my house, anywhere.
Are they familiar with the Stewart Street house?
They are.
Okay. Okay. do
They
you
love it. Mason actually said in visitation at CASA this past week, Mama, please don't move out of that house. I just love it so much.
Do you have a bed set up for him?
I do not at this time, but I can get him a bed today. I have one in storage that I can put up.
All right.
Usually when he's with me, he's wanting to sleep with me.
So, you work full-time at DFAX in Treatland County now.
I do.
You said you're a full-time student,
I am.
correct? How many hours this semester?
We're not set up that way. I go to school through Martinsburg College. It's an online university that lets you do it at your own pace. I have about one more class and I'll be completed with my schoolwork.
How many hours are you?
It's not
taking
set
right
up
now?
under hours.
The classes aren't.
They are not set up
25
under hours. It's done at your own pace.
So, how do they figure out if you've graduated or not? If
They
there's
do
no
it.
credit hours.
Maybe you should ask Martinsburg University. I'm not sure. I'm just
Mic drop. Good girl.
going by the curriculum.
Where is that? school?
It's in Martinsburg, West Virginia,
Okay, all right. When do you do your homework?
at night and on my lunch break at work.
Are you in a situation now where you could give these children the attention they need? If
I
you're a full-time
absolutely
student?
can always.
Here's where I was frustrated over the max. I'm okay now. This time I'm okay. But I got my bachelor's degree and my master's degree online. I worked full time during the day and I was a single mom of 3 and I got my degrees online and I was a damn good mother. And this lawyer is saying, well, if you're getting an education, you can't be a mother. What?
Have.
Okay. Well, in fact, Mason's been living with Mr. Wilt for some time, correct?
He has.
And then you just had Colt. Between the school, your work, and the marriage counseling, like, how many evenings are you home a week?
Every evening. We go to marriage counseling on Sundays immediately following church
All right. And where would your children be?
with a babysitter. I mean, I'm anybody. I could name many people that would be glad to keep them for us. We have a huge support system.
But the boys don't do well with people they're not familiar with, do they?
They do.
Okay, so you can just leave them with anybody you're.
I don't just leave them with anybody, but
You're
if
saying-
somebody that they're familiar with, our pastor and Mason are really good friends. Our pastor would be more than happy to keep Mason while we're in counseling because people care about us.
All right, who is Jessica?
Jessica,
Do you have a Jessica who lives with Anthony?
that's Anthony's daughter. She's a special needs and she's 26 years old, 27.
And has she taken care of Colt previously?
She's kept him if we went to a ball game. He can't handle being at ball games. There's been times when she's kept him at the house while we've went to church.
Okay, does she have a driver's license?
She does not.
Okay. Is she capable of looking after him?
She's perfectly capable.
All right.
They have a really good bond. They're very close to each other.
Is she able to work?
No,
And why not?
because she is deaf.
Okay. How does she and Colt communicate?
They just do. She can read your lips and she has hearing aids that we just got for her. So she can hear. She just cannot hear good enough to be able to hold down a position somewhere and work.
Able to speak?
Yes.
Okay. Is she able to hear Colt if he has an emergency?
Yes, absolutely.
But she could not drive him to the emergency room
No.
or drive him to get help.
Okay, so now if someone has a disability, they can't do anything. They're completely useless. Oh, this lawyer. I'm about to get in my car. I'm fixing to head down to Georgia right now. I'm getting so mad.
No.
Okay. Do you think that's wise to live
I-
there with her?
If I'm close to the house, I've never had a problem with it. She does great with Colt.
What about, wasn't there an issue with medication. Was it Mason? Colt's medication back in the fall.
Not that I know of.
Okay, you're not aware that the pharmacy had given Colt the wrong medication?
That was Mason.
Mason, I'm sorry. I get the boys confused. Mason's medication was mixed up at one point, correct?
It was.
And who discovered that?
I sent Greg multiple messages that week about, when I had Mason that week, about Mason's behavior being off, about him twitching, and that something didn't seem right.
Yeah, and did you check his medicine?
I don't handle his medicine, and it comes in a prepackaged little envelope that Greg brings to me when he brings Mason to me. So I gave him what was in his prepackaged envelope, and his medicine had been changed multiple times during that time period. His medicine had been changed, so I wouldn't have known. And sometimes they give generics to some of the pills, and they'll be different. So there would have been no way for me to know that. There was no way for him to know that, and he brought me the medicine.
All right. What are you asking the court for today?
I want my children back.
Do you want Mason to be with Greg?
I am fine with Mason staying there. That's what he's comfortable with. That's what he's used to. Absolutely.
If Greg said that Mason and Colt are thriving together, do you think it might be in their best interest to stay together since they're siblings?
That's something that I was willing to discuss with you guys, but whenever you came to me right before this court started and you offered to talk about it,
Is it proper to talk about settlement negotiations?
you just offered that to me before this started, and I told you if you're going to offer me supervised visits that I'm not willing to speak with you.
Okay.
But I was not saying that I wasn't willing to speak with you about anything else. And you're seeking counsel from his wife. That's not fair either.
Ma'am, you don't know what I'm doing.
I do know what you're doing. His wife is an attorney in your office, which should be against the court. That should be against it anyways. Her name was on some of the paperwork saying that she was the attorney in this case, and not yours.
Well, let's get to the issues that are relevant. That's not relevant. The question she asked you was whether or not you would consider allowing Colt to stay with Greg.
I would like time to speak with my son. I know they put in their affidavit that he's not capable of talking. I can prove that wrong a million times. But I could have a conversation with him, and if he wants to be with his daddy and wants to be with Mason, then I would not have a problem with that at all. I would be glad having visitation with them and letting them live together. That would be fine with me if that was in the best interest of my child, because I want what is the best interest of my children.
I
Next question.
have nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
You may step down.
Thank you.
We'll call Greg Wilt.
Please raise your right hand and use for the testimony you're about to give in the case now and hear me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
State your name for the record.
William Greg Wilt,
Where do you live?
189 Llewellyn Street.
And who all lives in your household?
Mason Wilt, Tina Maddox, myself, and currently Colt Wilt.
What about Laura?
Your Honor.
How about who's asking questions?
She just asked a
You
question.
can make yours, have some notes, and then you can ask him questions when it's your turn to ask him questions.
Okay. What caused you to seek this order?
A couple different things. It's just a repeated issue with Mason, for one. And then there was one particular thing that got the ball rolling this time, is I allowed Mason to spend a night with his mother on a school night, which he never does. And it's just because, you know, he's real particular about a routine, and if you get him out of it, it can make things go wild. But anyway, he stayed with his mother on a school night. When I picked him up from school the next day, he hadn't had a bath and he was dirty. And I noticed his hygiene, his hair was kind of oily and he wasn't clean. So me not seeing Colt every day after school, I text his teacher and ask, what did he come to school clean every day? And she just let me know anything I wanted to know when I asked. And then I started doing some investigating, and I just seemed like some things wasn't going good with Colt that I wasn't aware of.
Was it brought to your attention that Colt was coming to school dirty
and in pajamas, yes. And they had to change him. And there was one incident where he was really upset because his mom had promised to bring him cupcakes for his birthday, and she didn't show up with the cupcakes. So just some things were going on that had me concerns about Colt that I didn't really have prior. So after that investigation, I'd actually messaged her on our family wizard without having to try to go through everything and ask would she give me custody of Colt, and she told me no, she wasn't going to give me custody of Colt. And I think I'm set up better to deal with the boys. I think I get better response out of the boys, so that's the reason I was asking.
Okay.
I in no way want to keep those boys from her. They need her, they love her, and there's no doubt that she loves them. But there's just not, the structure's just not happening there for whatever reasons, and I don't know that answer. But that's the reason I asked for these three things to happen, so maybe we could shed some light on what's going on so we can make it better for everybody. So, but after that, I was monitoring the situation and then just trying to see if it was getting better. And it happened with Mason when she brought Mason.
Did he say this all started because he let his son spend one night with his mom and he was just filthy from one night with his mom? He went to school with oil in his hair?
Back, and I'd already heard from people that she was possibly going through a divorce because some of her
public on Facebook.
On Facebook, people was asking me, "Hey, is Mason's or your ex-wife getting a divorce and stuff like this?" I didn't know because she's not on my social media, and I had no idea it was going on, and just from somebody else telling me. So I even messaged her and let her know, I think you got a lot going on. I think you're going through some things, and it's better that you let me take care of the boys for right now. And that's what got the ball rolling this time. But when she brought Mason over and just, my understanding, she had moved, she had sent me a new address, and then her and Anthony brings Mason back up. So then I'm confused about what's going on in her life.
Let's go specifically to March 28th. What was March 28th?
That was Mason's birthday.
What happened that day?
I was outside working. I had got a message. It had come on my phone, but I was doing the graphics on a trailer. And I had got some messages coming in, and I looked at them, and she was complaining about Mason, which it's happened so much, it's almost like the boy that cried wolf. You just don't know. It's just anytime I get a message when Mason's with her, it's usually something bad Mason's done. So it's not alarming. It's almost to the point where I knew it's coming. Here it is. So I'm hearing her complain. I'm hearing her talk about giving up her rights again. I don't respond to it. It's just, there's really no response I can give to that. And, so the next thing I know, she pulls up, and her and Anthony pulls up. She gets out with Mason.
They were in Anthony's vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I assume it was a black truck. I don't know whose vehicle it was. She told me when she brought Mason that Mason kicked Anthony's new truck, and this was a truck that had a dealer's tag on it. I'm assuming it was Anthony's new truck. Brought him over. He was apologizing. "Mom, I'm sorry. I just want to go with you." And she's complaining about her hand, and she shows us her hand that's, I'm out there with 2 customers and my oldest son, and she spills all this business out in front of these complete strangers about how horrible our son is and how bad he is and how he's not going to stay with her and continue to beat her. And we're looking at this little kid he probably couldn't run the length of this courtroom without being out of breath, but
How tall is Mason?
maybe 4.5 foot tall,
How much does he weigh?
about 100 pounds.
Is he strong?
No.
Was he standing there when she was saying all this?
Mm-hmm.
What was your reaction?
I didn't respond to anything she said. I responded to Mason. I didn't have a response for it. If she didn't want him and then she was dropping him off, there was nothing I could have said that would have made anything any better. And I didn't want to add to it. I didn't want to upset anybody else. I remained silent the whole time she was there. I never traded a word with her. She spilled what she needed to spill about how horrible he was in front of these complete strangers and left him crying and begging to go back with her. She turned her back and walked off and left him. And
it was his birthday.
it was his birthday.
Was that the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back?
It was. And going back earlier, she said we left and went on vacation before we did anything to do with Colt. I messaged immediately that evening and asked her great-grandmother, was Colt with her and was he going to be with her? And she said, yeah, that she was going to be that Colt was spending the time with her. And that's how I knew he would be okay until I got back. Of course, he always stays with her. That's no new news.
That's Miss Warnick you're referring to.
Miss Warnick, yep.
Okay.
And I knew that he was going to be with her. We had already had for our anniversary reservations booked somewhere, and so we called our babysitter in, and she come stay with Mason the whole 4 or 5 days we were gone, and never once did we get a call that somebody was bit. We never got a call somebody got cussed out. I felt better on that trip with Mason being with the babysitter than I ever been anywhere else, because I didn't get not one phone call, one complaint, or anything about my son the whole time I was gone.
Right.
If I got anything, it's when I called to check in and she told me how good he was doing.
Right. And who kept him while y'all were gone?
Laura Smith, she's our babysitter.
And is she at your house every day that the children are?
Every day that the children are, not every day. She misses some days, but yeah, she's there a lot.
The children know her.
Yeah.
They're familiar with her.
Mm-hmm.
They respect her.
They do.
Do they give her any trouble?
No.
Okay. And how old's Laura?
Laura's probably 75, 4.
She's probably going to get you because I think she's 71. But she has no problem with the boys.
None.
Okay. Let's go back to the fall. Back in October when the first I want to surrender my rights, I want supervised visitation. Where were you and Tina when that happened?
We were in Salem, Massachusetts.
What did you do?
I didn't do anything. It was 11 o'clock at night when I got the text. And to be honest with you, when I read it, I was in disbelief. It really took me back for her to say something about surrendering her rights and wanting supervised visitation, which she's fighting so hard against right now. But it was just, I didn't respond to it. I couldn't. I mean, I just didn't know what to say. I knew if I responded, it may would have been out of anger or hurt or been out of my emotions, so I just did not respond at all.
At some point during that trip, were you made aware that Mason was at the hospital?
Yes, it was probably the very next message I got after that he had gotten bit in the face by a dog.
How many stitches did he have to have?
I want to say 7, maybe even more. It's 7 in one spot, and I think 4 or 5 in another. It was 2 different wounds.
And this was by the Gibbs dog?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this is after she's sent you a message saying she can't handle him, come get him, but you weren't anywhere where you could come get him.
Right, nowhere close.
Will these boys ever be able to live independently?
Mason possibly will. Colt, I don't think will be able to, not without some sort of assistance.
Do you want to keep these boys from Ms. Gibbs?
I would love to keep the boys, yes.
But
That wasn't her question, but I
are you
understood you
trying to
didn't
take
understand the
them
question.
away?
No.
He's already answered that.
No, I've already said that. There's no way in this world. I know them boys love their mom, and I know she loves them. I just think she struggles when it comes to giving them the proper care. And that's why we done what we done, so we could possibly get some things done or set in place so it'll make it better for everybody. It's not about trying to keep them from her, but it is about their safety. And if there's things going on with school, and if there's things going on with work, and if there's problems in the marriage, and there's a lot of animosity going on, these children feed off of that stuff. If they don't get the right attention, or if they see somebody bickering or arguing or something, they feed off of it. And I just don't know until we find out really what's going on to the bottom of everything, if it's a good idea just to turn them back loose into this, to get a bunch of text and phone calls and fighting and biting and all kind of things going on.
Let's talk about Colton in the pajamas.
He's already talked about that.
Okay.
Move along.
Well, does he wear them at your house?
He don't even wear them at my house.
Okay. How have the boys been since you got this order?
They've been great. Having Colt this long period of time, I've never had him no more than about a week at a time, like during the summer. But having him this long, we used to have issues when he would first come, but by the time they could work the issues out, Colt had went back home. But now, since they've been together for these 2 or 3 weeks, they're bonding great together. We went on a field trip to the zoo with Colt in Jacksonville, and when we got back, Colt was asking during the field trip, when am I going to see Mason? When am I going to see Mason? And then when we got back and we come in the house, they could run and they hugged and loved each other. They hadn't seen each other in a year. But yeah, they play great together. They do a lot of good things together that they hadn't been able to do because they don't spend a lot of time together at their mother's house. And this is probably, I would be willing to say, since I've had Mason, this is probably the longest those two boys have been together.
And it's working.
It's working great, yes.
What do you want the court to order today?
It looks like Stephanie's going in the right direction. It looks like she's grabbed the ball and she's willing to do these things. I don't know, and the court can decide, but I just don't know, with things being separated and divided and on her end, if it's a good idea right now for them because they're healing. These boys are going through a healing process right now. And I don't know and I'll try to use some kind of analogy, I don't know if the slate's even enough or if the road's not too bumpy yet over there to upset them again, for us to be right back into a text of, I'm getting the crap beat out of me, or something like that going on. I would really like to see her get more of this stuff done. And I'm not against the kids going to her grandmother's and they can all visit there, but I just don't know if it's stable enough or if things is going good enough back at home for these boys to be turned back over to that. I mean, that's the court's decision. That's just my opinion.
Does Mason hit you or any other adult in your house?
Mm-mm.
Does he cuss?
If he cusses, he don't cuss directly in front of me. I have heard him cuss like in the next room, but no, he don't disrespect and say it in front of me, no. Mm-mm.
Any of the behaviors that she describes Mason doing, does he do those at your house?
Absolutely not.
Do you beat him all the time?
I don't beat him all the time.
How do you discipline him?
I discipline him with structure. I do have a paddle, and the most, if he gets 3 licks, it's because he's done something terrible. I have a paddle, and he gets paddled on his behind. It's always been that way. It was that way when we were married. And I don't beat them. I mean, that is not, my boys respect me and they listen to me. And I think I'm structured in a way to where they know what they can and what they can't do. And yes, I don't spare the rod and spoil the child. I do have a paddle and I use it. And there is certain things that a paddling works for and certain things that don't. And that's why I can't discipline him for when he's at his mother's house. Because I don't know if his medicine's been administered like it's supposed to. I don't know how many extra people's come in the house and caused him to have some kind of anxiety attack or mental breakdown, or I don't know. Just so the court knows, if I wanted to, I could get Mason agitated enough that he probably would bite me.
Oh, yeah.
I probably could get him agitated.
I know that, yeah.
But I know how to handle it. I know what to do.
Your go-to is not, your default's not spanking.
No, that's not my default. No.
Okay, all right.
No, there's other ways of disciplining.
Ms. Gibbs, you got any questions you want to ask him?
Yes.
All right.
So you're telling the court today that Laura Smith is your babysitter for Mason and Colt, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that she came to my house a little while back and stood in my driveway and told my husband and I together that she lives in your home and that she cares for my children more than you or Miss Maddox, and that she is on salary for that through Tina Maddox law firm?
I didn't know that. She told you that.
She stood in our driveway and told us that she lives with you.
That
That
would be, you can
what I
bring her to
said.
testify when you have the final hearing, if you want her to come testify.
We can do that.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're saying what somebody else said, and that's hearsay, and it's not admissible.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to ask my questions.
All right. You may step down. Is there anything else, Miss?
No, Your Honor.
Anything else you want to present? All right. Well, here's where I think we are. I think we're out of position.
The judge stopped the lawyer from asking any more questions because he already made his mind up.
Position where the children at this point in time, on a temporary basis, it's a temporary hearing only, need to stay in Mr. Wilt's custody. That'll give you time to work through whatever is going to happen with your marriage. Either you're going to get it worked out and get back together, or you're not. Get that stabilized one way or the other. I think that needs to be stabilized before we make any other changes in that direction. It'll give you also time to get the counseling done that you've talked about for yourself. And if you've got counseling scheduled for you and Mason, you need to let him know when that's scheduled for, so he can get Mason there and
He's aware of it.
And well, I understand, but just make sure any counseling sessions he's aware of, they can get Mason there to be with you at the counseling. It'll also give you time to finish your education. If you won't have set up any, y'all may both consider whether the boys need to get any counseling together, to let a counselor meet with both of them together, and let a counselor kind of feel out whether they would benefit from being together. There's some discussion of that, and she's admitted she's willing to go along with that if she thinks that's what's best for the children. Then we need to find out if there's any professional on that. Now, for his visitation, I think in the time being, until you can get your matters worked out, it needs to continue. As far as visitation with you, needs to be at CASA. But if this great grandmother or whatever she is she your grandmother or your
My
great
grandmother. She's here. That I guess she.
she must have left. I don't know.
She
Anyway,
was sequestered.
She was-
She was
oh, okay.
sequestered.
She's your grandmother. Okay.
She raised me. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Now, this discussion about her on many weekends having cold, and he has no problem with her having that visitation. He's comfortable with her having cold. Does she or would she want to have both of them on some weekends or not? Is that?
Can we bring her back in to ask her that question?
Yeah, we can ask her that. I don't know if she wants to or not, and I'm not trying to make her.
That's gonna be something she's gonna wanna do.
You say what now?
I don't think it's
Oh,
something
okay.
that she's gonna wanna do because Mason has the outburst around her as well.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, then we don't need to ask her that. But I would say that if she wants to have every other weekend with Cole, then that would be advisable. Mason could then just stay with you on those weekends, and Mrs. Gibbs would continue to have CASA visitation, plus whatever time that the counseling takes with her and Mason together. So that would be what I think we need to do on a temporary basis. In the meantime, if you want to get a lawyer and then work on all these other things you're working on, your education, your marriage, your other counseling, that'll give time to get all that figured out, whatever it's going to be. And I'm not encouraging, and I'm not saying whether you stay married or don't stay married really is not a relevant issue for the issues before me. And I'm not saying you need to or don't need to. I'm just saying it needs to be resolved before we go to the next step, whichever way it's going to be.
Right now, they have it in the paperwork that my husband cannot even see the children.
I understand. And that's going to be the way it's going to stay till we get to a temporary basis. And y'all figure out what y'all going to do. That's one of the reasons we need to.
And all the craziness we've been through so far, guys, throughout this whole hearing. And let me just put on the record, I am not on the mom's side. I am not on the dad's side. I just am absolutely against whatever the lawyer says because I don't like her at all. Anyway, everything we've seen so far is nothing compared to what we are about to witness. Here we go.
With autistic children, there needs to be, obviously he's got problems.
No, he's hurt because he loves my boys very much.
I understand that, sir, but you're not.
My stepkids, whom I love.
But you're not living. But you're not living with her now, and that's an issue y'all got to resolve one way or the other. That's all I'm saying. Y'all need to resolve that issue.
You're going to CASA and see the kids with her,
Well,
whom I love and I've had raised for 5
well,
years.
let me. She has not addressed that issue to me. You see, that's not been an issue that's been addressed to me.
You just said it's going to stay that way.
Well, because she hadn't addressed that issue to me. You're not listening.
She just asked you.
No,
and you
she-
said it's going to stay that way.
Well,
and it's wrong.
whatever. Thank you, sir. You may be excused.
I'm glad. You're freaking.
Sir? Yes, sir.
Watch how long the judge keeps his hands up there.
I don't know whether the children need to see him at CASA or not. I don't know that that's an issue, but until they get that resolved. Now, you have just been very disrespectful to the court with your little outburst. Do you want to spend the night in the county jail for being in contempt of court? I guess he does. Take him into custody.
I didn't say that.
That's exactly right. Now, I asked you a question and you didn't answer the
I
question.
told you to be mindful of what I said, so I didn't want to say nothing wrong.
Well, you can answer the question yes or no. And you didn't answer it all. So,
No, I don't. I got 11-year-old little boy at home I got to go take care of.
all right. Well, then you might better decide to behave yourself when you're in court. Now, you don't owe me any respect whatsoever. I don't care what you think of me, but it's the position of the court that you're supposed to have respect for the person, whoever the judge is. And you're not showing that. And I can't allow that to take place in my courtroom and just ignore it. Otherwise, everybody would feel like they can get up and cuss at the court or say the court's stupid or court, you're this or you're that. And that's something we cannot allow. Now, do you want to apologize for that or not?
Sure.
Let him go. Just remember, behave next time. draw up an order and send it to me.
Your Honor, do you want to address child support? We had asked for it in our prayers, just de minimis.
Whatever, you got to get her affidavit, financial affidavit.
She's not filed one.
What do you make? What's your income? Monthly income, gross, not net, gross.
I make $29,000 a year.
All right, that's your gross? Goodness, I didn't know they paid that little bit of, that's a full-time job?
I just got a promotion and it will start, but it's not started yet.
All right, figure out whatever that is and calculate child support.
Thank you, Your Honor. We'll submit an order.
Yeah, Ms. Gibbs, you need to pay her your 1/2.
I don't have my purse.
All right, where's your purse? All right, we'll get you, you want to just meet her in the parking lot or what?
I've got archive and all that.
Okay, just get your purse and bring it back in. God, these two too.
She could have just said.
The more I see of this court, the more I just love it, love it, love it. It's always great. Always. Yes, I love my shoulder length hair much better than the long hair. It's so much easier. And I can do more with it. I do all kinds of things with it. Like I always have to have different bunny ears or cat ears. I know I'm too old for that. It was bowl cut number 13, of course. All because of Judge Fleischer. I got my hair cut. No, I got my hair cut before I found him. So she has to pay the court reporter for being there. She had to pay 20 some bucks. The court reporter charges 40 some bucks an hour, and each of the parties have to pay half. So she has to pay. She has to pay 20 some bucks. Or how long was that? Yeah, that was just a little over an hour. She probably has to pay him 25 bucks. Who thinks she has it? Who thinks she just skipped out on it? No, I really think that she has that because she's going to want to appeal. But then again, maybe not because this is just a temporary order. This isn't the final order. They're still going through the custody battle. Okay. Now, I did not have autistic children. And there were a billion times, a million times, a trillion times where I got to the point where I had enough. I just had enough. And that's when my children were not beating on me or biting me and swearing at me. My children would have never swore at me, my lord. But they do now, but they're adults now. And I swear at them too. But I mean, that is normal. It is normal. If you are not completely frustrated by your children, then you're not doing it right. You don't care enough. So I absolutely get it. I get those texts. I get them. I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but I understand how that could happen. And it not meaning that she wants to give up her kids. She has bad days just like every single one of us. The dad doesn't. He just beats them. I'm joking. All the men out there are going to be mad over that. I don't know. So I'm not saying I'm on the mom's side. And I'm not saying I'm on the dad's side. I don't know. I don't know anything about this. You know, he could be way right that she can't handle them. It's possible. I mean, you're talking about 2 special needs children. That's almost impossible. 1 is almost impossible. 2, forget it. So, however, the court, I think, so in normal custody cases, we see. So, you know, the mom's on drugs, the dad's on drugs, blah, 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 blah. They give the parents a list of things to do. Like, okay, you have to, you have to take tests and be clean for 6 months or what, and then you have to do this and that. This lady did it. Like, she did her psych eval. She took classes specific to autistic children. She went to a counselor. She's, talking about counselor with Mason so that, they can learn how to do this together. So, that meant nothing. Absolutely nothing. Hi, Rome. She's in school. The judge didn't like that. He's like, yeah, we're gonna keep it as it is because you're in school. You're separated. No, that's not fair. I mean, that's not relevant. It's yes. So she's separated. So if he gets separated from his wife, does that mean he's not able to take care of the boys? No, absolutely not. There's no way that would happen. So all those things that he put against her, I did not approve of at all. She works full time and she goes to school and she's getting separated. And that was all marks against her. But then in other child support cases, where the mom's on drugs, they say you need to get a job, you need to get a degree, you need to, you know, whatever. She has a house. Okay. I know as soon as she said that they get to share a room with her, a lot of people were like, ugh. But that's not unusual. I mean, four-bedroom houses are completely out of people's reach right now. They just are. They just are. And, two bedrooms are affordable-ish. Not quite, but affordable-ish. So, I know I had a two bedroom. It was me and my three kids. This was a while ago. Um, and, Anthony, my son, he was supposed to share a room with me, and the two girls got the other room. He was in the living room most of the time. He just slept on the sofa. So we didn't really share a room. He kept his clothes in there and everything, but he slept in the living room, and I bet they can do that too. It's not that hard. And my kids had to share a room once, all three of them, and it was huge. It was a huge room. So we just put dividers up, and they just each slept in their on their side of the divider. Yeah. See, Carolyn? I mean, four bedrooms houses are almost impossible. They just really are. So, and she's separated, which means she probably has to pay for it herself, and she's making what, 25,000 a year. Okay, just show me how you can get a four bedroom on 25,000 a year. Just and you have kids. She has her daughter with her too. You can't. You just can't. The math doesn't add up. I know. Stop drinking Starbucks and you can afford it. No, that's just not the way it works. It's just not. So I know it sounds like I'm on the mom's side, and I'm not. I'm not. I just don't like those things. I just refuse to hear someone say you can't be a good mom if you're working, if you're going to school. If, oh, God forbid, if, you're not making your new husband happy. Oh, it was frustrating. But, okay, guys, I gotta tell you this. I almost didn't play this clip today because I got another one. I got another one that's way better. We don't get to hear the husband at all. Well, we do get to hear the wife. And I'm playing that tomorrow. I mean, I really didn't know which one I was going to go with today. I went with this one because this one I got first, and this other one was from today, so I can play that tomorrow. I know we don't have Judge Fleischer for a couple days, but don't worry. Tomorrow's is going to be good. It really has to be good. And then I got a lawyer who defends herself over a tree. and, and it doesn't go bad. But yeah, internet is very expensive. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I can get on my soapbox forever because I lived through it. And you don't just live through that for a day. That's decades, every single day, decades. So, probably around 4:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, just like today. Whatever time it was for you today is what time it's going to be tomorrow. Unless, I fall asleep or something. I work a double today, but I already have everything ready. So I don't need to do anything. Yeah, okay, so I know there's no such thing as a pro se attorney. I understand that. I understand that. The attorney is representing themselves, so that makes them pro se, right? I mean, doesn't that make them pro se? I do. I just did one not too long ago, security. It was not best it was sort of a best of. It was clips that I had to take down from YouTube that were great. I put them back up. I do need to do some of those. 6:30 p.m. That's what time this stream started for security. The rest of us, it's the butt crack of dawn. Yeah. Oh, May. Hi, Carrie. I should check real quick. Hold on 1 second. I'm just checking. Okay, we're good. We're all caught up. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming out today. I really, really, really appreciate it. Tomorrow will be more chaotic and not so beaten kids kind of day. Yes, they do have a full for a client, but are they pro se? Hi, Donald. All right, I'm gonna get ready for. I wonder if any courts are open, but it doesn't matter. I have to go into work soon, so I'm not getting any courts today. But you guys can go watch courts and have fun. Thanks for coming out. I really, really, really appreciate it. Chat is awesome, as always. Love you, Cloud. All right, guys.